Yo, what's good? What's happening, Rush Nation? Welcome to episode 79 of 5 Yard College. We've almost got to 80, Ash. That doesn't really mean anything. I just thought it sounded exciting. Welcome back, my man. How you doing? How was your Christmas?
It was good, thanks. Very good. Time with family and friends is what Christmas is for. A few too many drinks, a bit too much food, but yeah, it was good. How was yours?
Yeah, so. I had to wait for a PCR test for my wife,
Oh
which didn't
yeah.
come back till 5 past 5 Christmas Day. So we
Oh
missed the
blimey.
festivities at my wife's house. But hey, we got to spend the day together indoors and everyone's fit and healthy. They all came back negative. So
Oh
hey,
good. That's a plus then, I suppose.
yeah, and I didn't have to drag the lad out after he received all of the toys from Santa. I mean, I don't know what any other kid has done this year with all the toys being at my house, but but no, it was good. It was good. So
Good.
we are now firmly entrenched in bowl season. I don't know how many have been. I think there's probably what 10 to go, including the playoffs or something like that. And
Yeah, there or thereabouts. I think once you include the playoffs, I think there's about a dozen left, maybe just
yeah,
under.
so we are currently live on a Thursday evening. Ash and I had a good discussion yesterday as to what day of the week it actually was because we didn't know. And then Ash had a problem with his PC, hence we are recording on a Thursday night, not a Wednesday night. But
Yeah.
as we like to say, we're like water, we're fluid, we can move. We're still here in your inbox. If you're listening on audio on New Year's Eve, have fun tonight. Be careful, stay safe. And if you're listening on New Year's Day, Happy New Year, welcome to 2022. Let's hope it was better than the last two. So, we've got very little news this week, Ash.
Yeah.
A few draft declarees who are, well, it's massive news if you're a wide receiver fan or running back fan. Let's be honest. There's a little bit of offensive line news in there, but the big news is wide receiver based. And in the middle of that, there's a little game interval for stocks, which I'm truly excited about, but also very nervous because it could be anything. And I was a listener of the Lonely Hearts Club, and if it's anything to do with knowledge from that or history based, I'm in a world of trouble. But we do have a couple of bits of news to get to before you crucify me live on air. So let's do the news. We've got a 2023 four-star and number 2 wide receiver recruit, Zachariah Branch, has announced his commitment to USC. Surprise, surprise, another one. And the Trojans are really putting together a 2023 draft class of some stature, Ash. Branch selected USC over Ohio State, who are losing a couple of stud wide receivers, which we will get to. Alabama, Oklahoma, and Arizona. Of that four, Oklahoma's no surprise, with Lincoln Riley moving to USC. Do
Yeah.
we think he would have gone to Oklahoma had Riley been there and is now USC because that's where Riley is?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it was. That's what swayed his decision, and then yeah, he's ended up at USC as well. And like you say, the 2023 class they're building is looking mightily impressive. They've got the second best QB in the class, Malachi Nelson. They've got obviously the second best wide receiver in Branch. They've also got Mackay Lemon, who's another 5-star recruit. Yeah, they're building a very nice looking 2023 recruitment class so
You,
far.
you say that as if you're a little bit envious of what they've managed to achieve so far with
Yeah,
I mean, you look back at USC, and yes, it's one of those powerhouse teams that we expect to be somewhere there or thereabouts. Hasn't been of late. Lincoln Riley goes there, and all of a sudden they seem to be being touted as the next big thing. And watch out, college football. Only time will tell, obviously, but at the moment they are building a
yeah,
substantial squad for the future.
they are indeed. Yeah, Riley's got a lot of pulling power there for them, and it's a well run program outside of Riley. So yeah, big things probably coming for USC in the next few years, definitely.
Talking of pulling power, the Louisiana State University, or LSU to pretty much everyone in the whole world, has hired Kansas Chiefs linebacker coach Matt House as their new DC. House has been with the Chiefs for the last 3 seasons and has experience in the college game, having been the DC for both Pitt and Kentucky. So we see it quite a bit where NFL coaches come from the NFL as a positional coach to expand into a DC or an OC or perhaps one of the lower ranked NFL teams. You get someone jump into a big college team to make the steppers to a larger DC or OC, and the college game I think because it doesn't perhaps get as much telly time here, Ash, as the NFL does because of Sky Sports.
Yeah.
They don't. Some people might not realise just how big the college game is and how much of a draw for coaches it can be.
Yeah, definitely, especially these big programs. Like obviously LSU haven't had the best of time in the last couple of years, but they're still one of the top college programs in America. And like you say, these coaches that cut their teeth at college initially move into a positional role in NFL and then come back as you say, a DC or an offensive coordinator or even a head coach at a college, and
Hmm.
then will then hopefully take that step back into the NFL. It's more common now than it ever used to be, and it's obviously apparent here with LSU and Brian Kelly building his new coaching staff.
Absolutely. Right, Ash, if I had a button for some form of game show jingle, I'd push it, but I don't. Come on
Yeah.
then, what have we got?
Well, obviously, it's going to be a complete surprise to you, but I've been just a few bits today on recruits and recruiting and the 2022 and 2023 recruitment class. And I thought, because obviously recruiting is in the news the last couple of weeks, obviously we had signing day a couple of weeks ago, and obviously we spoke about Branch and USC. I thought for the 2022 recruiting class, Texas A&M are top currently, the top ranked team in terms of recruits that they've managed to pick up. They have 5 of the top 8 recruits in the 2022 class.
Wow.
What I want you to tell me
Nope.
is who are the other 3 programs that have recruits. So there's 3 more players and there's 3 separate programs in the top 8. What are those programs? One should be quite obvious considering what happened right at the end of signing day and all of the breaking news, but I'll be interested if you can get the other 2.
Okay, good. I was concerned that Travis Hunter wouldn't be one of those 3, but you confirmed it. So obviously Jacksonville State is one of them.
Indeed, Travis Hunter is now the number 1 overall recruit.
Oh, what about Texas with Quinn Ewers? Does that
No,
count?
no, it
Oh,
don't count. He is last year's recruitment class.
yeah, but he never really played, and I thought it
No, but
might count.
no.
Okay,
He
you
doesn't
can see
count.
where I was going with that, though,
Of
right?
course. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, big programs who have got Texas, Georgia have got to be one of the 2.
Yes, Georgia are the one of the 2. They've got number 4, Malachi Starks, who is a quarterback slash linebacker. He's probably going to be a linebacker safety hybrid at the next level. But yes, he is number 4.
A
One more.
quarterback slash linebacker.
Yeah, he played both ways in high school, along with track and field and basketballs. He's a free sport athlete. He's a
Which
lot
is
of
massive. We want to see our college football
yes,
players with multi-sport backgrounds. We've seen it
definitely.
with Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes. Okay,
One
one
more.
more then. Is this? Give me some form of clue. Is this a
Oh,
big team we're talking? A big program we're talking, or is it sort of
no,
left field?
I would say it's more left field.
Brilliant. Well, there's 127 other teams to guess from here. So,
I will give you a clue. Oh,
okay,
it might be a bit too obvious if I do. I'm going to anyway. The program is in the Big Ten.
that doesn't really help me.
Oh, that narrows it down massively. Come on.
Yeah, but God, this is where I embarrass myself when I reel off a team that isn't in the Big Ten. Okay, let's think back to Jack's writing of the Big Ten. Doesn't really help me much. How about Penn State?
You got the nail on the head. Yes.
Yes, get
Drew
in.
Aller, quarterback, 5-star, number 3 overall in the class, is committed and signed to Penn State.
That's quite a big deal for Penn State because they're not
Definitely,
normally
yeah.
associated with big time quarterbacks of late. Are
No,
they?
no, exactly. And he chose them over Ohio State as well, obviously. And when you look at the 2 in comparison, yes, Ohio State's a bigger program, but obviously with all the quarterbacks that are already in there, entrenched in there,
Yeah.
the choice between those 2 isn't surprising. But yeah, Penn State have managed to get themselves the 3rd overall recruit in the 2022 class, and he looks good from what I've seen. He's he's more of a classic big, well built, good thrower at the moment. Anyway. Got a good arm on him, so it'd be interesting to see how he does at Penn State. Because as you say, they've not had the best track record in recent years. Clifford's done an all right job, but he's been nothing exceptional. So should be
Yeah.
exciting times for them once Aller gets into town.
How many of the top 8 were quarterbacks, Ash? Of those 8?
Just him. Just him. So the ones that have signed to A&M, obviously Walter Nolan, defensive lineman, the number 2 overall. Wide receiver Evan Stewart, who is a top wide receiver. Harlan Perkins, linebacker. Shamar Stewart, another defensive lineman, and Gabriel Brownlow Dindy, also defensive lineman. So 3 defensive linemen in the top 8, and they're all Texas A&M.
That is a nasty class for them.
Oh yes, they are. They are top of the 2022, and they're currently top of 2023 as well. They have got some exceptional pulling power in their ranks. They've got 6. They've got 6 5-star recruits, and then a handful more of 4 stars as well. I think another 5 or 6 4-star recruits. So it's incredibly impressive. Really is.
Big fan of what you did there, including the people with six fingers when you talked about a handful. That's we like to be inclusive here on Five-Hole College.
Of course.
Right, let's talk about some draft declarees. There are 3 wide receivers and a running back, which are massive news for not only the playbook, but also our player reviews coming up, Ash, on the website and stuff. There, we've got, first of all, we'll start in Ohio State, your Buckeyes. Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave have both declared for the 2022 draft, and neither will participate in the Rose Bowl. Projected early round picks: offensive lineman Nicholas Petit-Frere?
Yeah, Ferrer. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Canadian.
Okay, Nicolas Petit and defensive tackle Haskell Garrett have also opted out of the bowl game and have declared for the draft. So 2 huge weapons on offense, plus offensive line and defensive tackle. Yeah. Before we move on, Ash, does that sway the need a little bit more in Michigan's favour, perhaps, for the Rose Bowl? Cincinnati, sorry.
No, because Cincinnati aren't playing Ohio State. Ohio State aren't in the playoffs, are they?
No, this is how away of the fairies I am today. Ohio State are playing.
Ohio State are playing Utah.
There we go.
Yeah.
With the Utah,
no.
You still think they get it done?
I think so. Yeah, we've got Smith and Jigba. We've got the freshman Egbuka. Fleming's still there. Marvin Harrison, is he? Marvin Harrison's still there. We've got a lot of weapons still. I think Haskell Garrett is going to be a big loss on the defensive tackle, but no, I still think they've got enough to get it done against Utah.
My apologies there about Ohio State, Michigan. I was lost earlier in the year. Right, moving on. One of our don't feel bad at all. It was a terrible error to make. I should not have made it. One of our favourite players, who we weren't sure was going to declare for the draft, but is BYU running back Tyler Algier. He's announced he's leaving BYU and he's going to declare. Big news for him. Huge news for the running back class because of, I think he could be a steal for some teams because we've seen him do everything this season, whether it be running the ball, pass catching, bell cow, but we've also seen him be committed to the team and willing to chase down a ball. For instance, when there was a fumble or an interception, I can't remember what it was, Jared Hall, and then they both chased it back and Algier punched the ball out because he used to play linebacker, so he's got that fight as well. And I think this could be a really big move for an NFL team who, he's not, I don't think he's going to be. He might even be sort of a third, fourth round pick, but I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be really good.
I think so. Yeah, he had an impressive career at BYU. I think he just topped 2,900 yards, and obviously 30 odd touchdowns. And he had a little bit on receiving, not a great deal. He's not a passing down running back, but he can do that if needed. And like you say, he's got that fighter in him from when he was a linebacker, and he played linebacker. I think he played linebacker in his second year at BYU because he redshirted his true freshman year due to, I can't remember if it was injury or just I think they made a decision that he was going to redshirt. And then his second year he came in and played linebacker. And then obviously the last 2 years, 2020 and this season, he full time at running back. So he has got that. He's got that defensive knowledge as well. And like you say, he tries hard on every play, whether he's the one running the ball, if he's blocking, or if he's trying to recover. And that will do him a world of good on special teams in particular. That will be a thing for him to get into the league as well. Like you say, I think we're looking at the moment as a third, fourth round running back, but this the running back class is quite open outside of the first few guys. So it'll be very interesting to see how people view him when he gets to draft time.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it with running backs like Kareem Hunt and Alvin Kamara and stuff like that. You don't have to be one of these elite guys in college to come out and absolutely storm the NFL. And if
No.
Kareem Hunt's life had taken a different path, perhaps when he first came out and was a rookie with the Chiefs, he was absolutely unbelievable. So
Yeah.
late round running backs are a thing, and I think teams are trending that way in the NFL as well. If you look at the way they're drafting, because running backs' lifespan is really short, and draft capital given up running backs hasn't necessarily worked too well for the teams early on in the draft. So Algier, sorry, could really prove to be a value at the NFL level. And then finally, Penn State wide receiver Jahan Dotson. We absolutely love this guy, Ash. He's announced he'll be skipping Penn State's bowl game and declaring for the 2022 draft. He and also projected number 3 safety in the class, Jaquan Brisker, has also announced he'll be skipping the Outback Bowl for Penn State and has declared for the draft. So two huge players out there for Penn State and a couple more to add to the draft box.
Yeah, probably their top player on each side, to be honest. Dotson and Brisker, the best one. Well, yeah, I would say they're their best offensive and their best defensive weapon, both missing. So big letdown for well, not big letdown, but obviously it's going to affect Penn State. But unsurprising, I think. But a lot of people expected both of these guys to declare early, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where they both land. And I'm highly rated on both of those. I think I've got them both inside my top 40, I think, at the moment. So little sneak preview for people there. The top 100s are well underway.
Yeah, I need to pull my finger out and put my data into that. But don't worry, it's coming. It's coming. Right, Ash, we've got some bowl games to review quickly before we get into some previews. We started last week. Well, unless I say started last week's pod, we were very excited about the prospect of football every day, and lo and behold, COVID comes along and smacks us in the mouth once more with that. So we had a few games cancelled. The Hawaii Bowl, Memphis versus Hawaii, that was cancelled due to Hawaii unable to play because of COVID, season-long ending injuries and transfers. The Military Bowl, ECU against Boston College, that was cancelled because Boston College had 42 players who were either impacted by COVID, injury, opt-outs, or had entered the portal. And then the UCLA NC State game on the 28th was cancelled. UCLA unable to play again due to COVID protocols within the program. So of the games we were excited about, some of them were cancelled, and there wasn't football every day, which was sad. But we do have some games to get into, Ash, that were, well, a couple of them were absolute results we just didn't think were going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think the first one is probably the is one of the more surprising ones.
Yeah, I mean, the Gasparilla Bowl on the 23rd, a couple of days before Christmas, a while ago now. Florida lost 29-17 to UCF. What surprised me in this game was that Emory Jones had entered the transfer portal, yet still played for Florida. So I guess he's trying to get as much out there on tape for somebody to please come and pick him up, right?
Yeah, I think we mentioned that on last week's pod that it was looking like he was still going to play despite being in the transfer portal. But that is a really surprising thing for me to see, especially for a quarterback. But as you say, he probably wanted to get as much tape as possible. And I can't remember off the top of my head because I've only seen the highlights of this one, and it was a couple of weeks ago. Well, not a couple of weeks ago, but a week ago now. I just trying to quickly have a look if Anthony Robinson was back from injury and playing, because I want to say he was still no. So Robinson, Richardson. Sorry, Anthony Richardson was still out injured, so that's why Emory Jones still ended up playing, and he got a full game for a change, but it didn't make much difference.
It didn't make much difference. The 29-17 was a big loss or a big win for UCF, and
definitely.
I think Florida's new coach. Oh, his name has completely gone. Did he coach this game, the bowl game?
I'm not 100% sure if he did. Billy Napier, isn't it? He's taken over from him.
I think Billy Napier might have coached it? I don't know. I could be wrong here. I've just got a feeling that it wasn't the greatest start for their new coach.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was there or not. Off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's fine. It was a week ago, and I'm probably
exactly.
Up now.
So. Yeah, it's gone. It's all gone. Um, no, he hasn't taken over yet. They had Greg Knox as the interim coach.
Oh, okay. Maybe I misheard the information there or something, but yeah, very peculiar indeed. Also, on the 23rd of December, we had the Frisco Classic, and Miami, Ohio in brackets, beat North Texas 27-14. Um, I have not seen anything of this one, Ash.
No,
Was this
same.
a shock or?
I think yeah, I think out of the two, if I was to have picked one team before the start of the game, I would have gone for North Texas. But I'll be honest, I didn't see a great deal of this game. I know Miami have had a better season this year than previous, but I think it probably was still a shock. But I haven't unfortunately seen anything of that game.
Yeah. Now we move to Christmas Day and the Camellia Bowl, where Ball State were absolutely routed by Georgia State. Georgia State came out winning 51-20 in this one.
Yeah.
I think Ball State were either 3-point favourites or only 3-point dogs, so a 31-point deficit here is big time loss.
Yeah, they were 3 point underdogs, but I think getting handled like that, like they did. Drew Plitt, the Ball State quarterback, didn't have the best of games. Had the ball in his hand a lot, but yeah, he didn't have the best of games. And on the flip side, Darren Granger, the Georgia State quarterback, had a great game. I think he only threw 19 passes and went for 3 touchdowns on 200 yards or something like that. So,
Christ.
and he ran for 120 yards, I think, in a touchdown. So yeah, he had a great day, probably a career day for him, I suspect. But
Yeah,
yeah, surprising result. I'm not surprised that Georgia State won in the grand scheme of things, but I am surprised it was that comfortable. I think it was the second quarter, the second half, third quarter in particular. Georgia State just obliterated Ball State. I think it was either 28 or 30 points in the third quarter, and it just put the game to bed. They shut Ball State out for that quarter and went into coastal. Yeah, just coasted to the end of the game.
which is when you get a lead that big, it's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
We got the Quick Lane Bowl next. Western Michigan
Yep.
dismantled Nevada 52-24. Now, obviously Nevada were missing some pieces, but this was still a scoreline that I thought Western Michigan were favourites in this, I think, and probably rightly so. However, that is a big scoreline again, nearly 30 points to a team that had an okay season in Nevada.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I think the result itself, with what Nevada were missing, isn't surprising. I'm not surprised that Western Virginia won, but how handsomely they won, I am still surprised. The Nevada backup quarterback, I want to say it's Cox. I can't remember his first name, but he's the tallest quarterback in college football at the moment. But he's not a very good. He wasn't a very good one in the game. I think he only went for like 120 yards and a touchdown, and he threw an interception. And they just Nevada couldn't get much done on offense at all, and Western Virginia just rolled them over in the running game in particular. I think they topped 350 yards running and 4 touchdowns, and yeah, they were comfortable. In this one, really, I don't think Nevada really ever caused them any problems across the whole of the game. So I'm not surprised by the overall result, the result, but I'm surprised by the score. Definitely, I'm
Yeah,
surprised they managed to put 52 on them, despite who Nevada were missing.
absolutely. We now move to the 28th of December, the Birmingham Bowl, and Houston managed to get a win against Auburn. They won 17-13. I don't actually know who was favourite at the kickoff on this one, Ash, but a close game, only 30 points scored, and I think Auburn lost 3 on a bounce, didn't they, at the end of the season?
They did finish the year. Yeah, they did finish the year in a hole, unfortunately. I think Auburn was still the favourites, despite Houston being the ranked team and 12-1, and obviously Auburn having a 6-6 season. I want to say that they still came into the game slight favourites. Now, I could be wrong in that, but yeah, they Houston handled them rather with ease, to be honest. Obviously, Auburn didn't have Bo Nix. He didn't play in the game. He's gone. He's entered the portal. But Tank Bigsby had a great game. Probably one of the few Auburn players that didn't get himself on the scoreline, unfortunately, but nearly got 100 yards rushing. I think he finished on 95, 96, something like that, and another 70 in the air. So he's made a good account for himself, as he always does when he touches the ball. But yeah, Houston shut Auburn down a lot of the time on defense, and their offense had enough to see them off in the game. I think Tune threw a couple of touchdowns that sort of just put the game to bed really for Houston, and they were able to hold on despite. I'm pretty sure from what I remember in this game. I'm going back again nearly a week now. Auburn came back strong start of the second half and put. I think they made it a one-score game, or they might have even been up. No, they were up. They were up 13-10 heading into the fourth quarter, and Houston managed to score a touchdown in the fourth quarter to win the game. So it was a tight game, but I think Houston made a good account of themselves in this one on defense in particular.
Yeah, look, we moved to the first responder bowl now. I had a little bit of interest in this with Malik Cunningham playing for Louisville. Louisville were playing Air Force. Air Force, I think, were 1-point dogs at kick,
Yeah.
I think. But with how they've played this season, I wasn't surprised that could have been a pick 'em. Like, you could have had that either way. And when I saw it at halftime, I don't have this thing in front of me, but Air Force were well out in front at halftime, and Louisville needed to come back and did so, because obviously I went to bed because it was quite a late start. I think it ended up being a 31-28 win for Air Force. So the upset coming for Air Force there, but Louisville managed to get back in the game and make it interesting.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't seen anything of this game, unfortunately. So you know more about it than me on this one. But yeah, obviously, just on the face of it, as you say, I think again, Air Force. I think Air Force, you're right, went into this game as underdogs, despite how well they've been this season. But yeah, they managed to pull off the victory. So it's good, very good result for them, and a very good end to the year, because I think that yeah, was it? No, they lost, didn't they? They lost to Army in overtime. So this is a good way for them to end the year, considering obviously that loss to Army was the first time in about 5 years that they've lost the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. It's called, when those two face each other. So yeah, they've ended their year well with this bowl game victory.
Are you not confusing Air Force with Navy?
No, Air Force and Army play each other in the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. And Army beat them. Yeah, Army beat them.
Okay. I had Air Force on my lucky 15, which was nice.
Excellent.
I also had Minnesota, who beat West Virginia 18-6. So I actually thought West Virginia had sort of given up for the season, and Minnesota would have had this won by a bigger scoreline, just because of how they looked at the end of the season and stuff like that. But an 18-6 was a very low scoring game, and Minnesota, I imagine, I've not seen any of the clips, but I imagine Minnesota just ground this one out.
Minnesota, yeah, they grounded them with the run game. They absolutely tore them apart with the run game. They didn't need to put the ball in Tanner Morgan's hands, really. I think he literally threw 13 passes for 100 odd yards. The running game was, yeah, they just dismantled them. West Virginia, as you say, they didn't really. I wouldn't say they didn't look up for it. That's an unfair thing to say. But Minnesota were definitely the team that were raring for this one. And as I say, yeah, I think both running backs hit over 100 yards, and they ground and pound them. Even Daniel Filele, the offensive tackle, 6'7", 6'8", I think he is, man mountain. Sleeper offensive tackle for me for this year's draft. He managed to get himself a rushing touchdown as well. So
nice.
I think he's the heaviest or the tallest player to score a touchdown in a long time from memory. So yeah, that was a nice little addition to the game.
Ash coming with all the tall man stats today.
Yeah, definitely.
A huge shock for me, Ash, was Texas Tech beating Mississippi State 34-7.
Yeah, I would agree. I think both teams came into this on pretty even pretty even in my opinion. I think they've both had similar seasons, up and down seasons. But yeah, I'm surprised just how handsomely Texas Tech won this one. Um,
Considering Mississippi State were 11.5 point favourites going into the
yeah,
game.
yeah, exactly. I think they again, it was another example of running the ball through them. To be honest,
Hmm.
but Taj Brooks, the running back for Texas Tech, I think he went for about 100 yards and scored a touchdown. I think Thompson had another 80 yards. Again, it was another ground and pound situation in this game. But yeah, they just Mississippi State never really looked up for it. To be honest with you, I think I've only seen the highlights of this one, but yeah, Texas Tech were comfortable for the whole game on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Mississippi were the state that let me down, the team that let me down in my 15. Uh, we moved to December the 29th, so yesterday, I'm
Yesterday
assuming.
for us, yeah.
Yesterday, yeah. First of all, started the Cheez It Bowl. Clemson managed to get the win against Iowa State. I think Clemson were either 1 or 2 point favourites at kickoff.
Yeah.
A big win for Clemson considering their season. All right, it wasn't a complete write-off, but Iowa State still a good football team, and Clemson managed to get the win in this one.
Yeah, they ended the year with six wins on the bounce, which gave them another 10 victories on the year. They went 10-3, and it's Dabo's. I think it's the 11th consecutive season that they've gone. They've had a 10-win season, and I think they're only the third team to do that, or it's the third longest streak. Looking at my notes, Bama 14 from 2008 to 2021, and Florida State with 14 from 1987 to the year 2000. So they are the third. They've got the third longest streak at the moment. It was also Dabo Sweeney's 150th victory for Clemson, and he's the sixth fastest coach in college football to do that.
Who's the fastest?
No. I believe it is Nick Saban. I think Dabo Sweeney, Nick Saban, and no, it's not. I think it might be Urban Meyer actually. Dabo Sweeney, Urban Meyer, and someone else have all got 150 victories in under 15 seasons. This is Sweeney's 14th season. Bob Stoops, who is taking over who is currently at Oklahoma, is the third that have done it. So
Wow.
there we go. It wasn't Nick Saban. I was incorrect. But the game itself, neither quarterback looked very good in. No, DJ Uangale has had an up and down season at best this year. It didn't look great. He got a few decent passes in, but again, he threw an interception. He only went for 158 yards. He just doesn't really have the answers for Clemson, and I think he's got a very interesting situation on his hands in the offseason because Clemson have got Cade Klubnik coming in, who's a 5-star recruit in the 2022 class. And if he enrolls to Clemson in January, which is the early enrollment, and is at spring training, I really do think he's going to push Uangalele for that starter spot next year. And Uangalele's not done anything really to make a claim for that quarterback slot. Will Shipley, the freshman running back, had a great game for a freshman. 61 yards on the ground, touchdown. I think he went for another 50. He went for 53 in the air as well. So he had himself a nice game. And then on the other side, Iowa State, Brock Purdy, he's the best quarterback that Iowa State have ever had. I think he's the most winningest quarterback and the most passing yards. But I mean, at times he makes some silly errors.
Yeah.
I think so. Clemson won the game with their safety, who was MVP. Mario Goodrich knocked the ball out of Purdy's hands to score a touchdown, a defensive touchdown. But also before that, Brock Purdy threw the ball. It hit. I think Clemson battered it down, or it might have even come off of an Iowa State player. Purdy's then gone, and rather than swatting it to the ground for a grounding call, has swatted it back in the air, and it's dropped in the hands of a Clemson defender, and they scored another touchdown from that. And Clemson came into this game as, I think, the second highest scoring defense in the country. So when you make silly errors like that, you're not going to win a game like this. And It was a close-fought game, and I'll be honest, I think at half-time it could have gone either way. It was 6-3 at half-time. It was looking a bit, I'm not really too sure which way this is going to go. And then obviously Will Shipley scores the rushing touchdown, and then the crazy interception comes to the Clemson cornerback, and that's it. It's game done for Iowa State. I think they scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter, but they couldn't get the ball back. They failed a onside kick, I think, and it was done. But Clemson were deserved winners in this one, and we could see two new quarterbacks for both of these programs next year.
Yeah, I think Will Shipley is going to be a hot commodity next year for Clemson. After he came back from his injury, he's looked every bit of the prospect coming out of high school that we thought he possibly was.
Yeah,
And he's looked very, very good. So interesting to see how spring training treats him and what Clemson can do with using him, because we know they can use a running back with Travis Etienne. So
yeah, definitely.
And then I'm on a Facebook group, American College Football Scouting group, just because I think some of the people on there are fairly interesting. And this guy went in on Brock Purdy this afternoon in a post, and I started reading it, but he got a bit technical, so I had to step away. But I think I might go back and find it now and just see what he was saying, because it doesn't sound like Purdy had the best of games. We next up, Ash, have the Alamo Bowl, and that never disappoints score-wise. This one didn't. Oklahoma ended up winning 47-32 against Oregon. This was this is the only game from the ones we've mentioned so far that I've not seen any highlights from at all. So,
oh wow, I mean,
yeah.
Missed a great game.
Well, they're still there. The highlights are still available. I can go and get them.
Well, of course you can, yeah, but it's not now when we'll talk about it. No, it was a great game, and to be honest, by half time, I thought Oklahoma were just going to walk this game. Oregon, I'll be honest, Oregon were a shambles in the first half. Oklahoma ran the ball through them, passed the ball over them. They just had no answers. I think Kennedy Brooks was exceptional all game. Caleb Williams, he looks just obviously this season when he stepped in, he's looked good, but this game he looked phenomenal throughout. I think he had 20. He went 21 for 27 on his pass attempts and 3 touchdowns. He looked just whenever he put the ball into, he had time in the pocket. He just found his receivers. I think there was one in particular. It was a deep ball to Marvin Mims. The two defenders that were around Mims, obviously he got away from them. They were about 2 or 3 steps behind, and it just dropped straight into the breadbasket to Mims. And yeah, just that throw was exceptional. And Brooks just steamrolled Oregon's defense this whole game. Anthony Brown was poor in the first half, but I will give Oregon credit. In the second half, they fought back massively, and they made it interesting at one point. And I did think that, well, they scored 22 or something in the third quarter. The third quarter in particular was mental. I think they scored 3 touchdowns and an extra and a 2-pointer, and Oklahoma got themselves a couple of touchdowns as well in that quarter. But yeah, it did look like that Oregon were gonna come back and potentially, well, they made it interesting, but they were pushing at the door, and then I think just Oklahoma slammed it shut in the fourth quarter. But yeah, it was a really good game. Travis Dye on the Oregon running back. He had a great game, 150 yards and a touchdown. He looked devastating every time he touched the ball. I can't remember who their freshman wide receiver is. I think, Troy Franklin, Oregon's freshman wide receiver. He made some great plays. He had a toe tap drag in the end zone to score his touchdown. They really made a game of it. And Anthony Brown was like a whole different quarterback in the second half, because the first half he was terrible. He threw an interception. He tried to run with it when he just really didn't have the space, and he didn't look good. And then, as I say, second half they really turned it on a gear and were close to obviously getting the victory back from Oklahoma. But Bob Stoops, who's obviously come in as interim coach until Venables is taken over, got this victory for them. And as I say, anyone who hasn't watched it, I would definitely go back and recommend watching the highlights of this, because it was a great game. Oklahoma dominating the first half, and then Oregon coming back and almost fighting back in the second half. Really, really good game of football. Oh, there was one bit in particular. Sorry, just before you carry on, I think it was when so Oklahoma were 9-3 up in the second quarter. Mario Williams has had the ball passed to him from Caleb Williams, and I can't remember who it was. It was one of the secondaries for Oregon. Has basically is pulled off Williams's helmet, but Williams has managed to stay up with his helmet off and score a touchdown. But unfortunately, obviously, it was a personal foul for the face mask. But an offensive player cannot continue running with the ball when they haven't got a helmet on. So, despite the fact he had no one around him and he's ran into the end zone uncontested, it had to get called back. And then
Ugh.
Oklahoma then only were able to get a field goal from it. So the rules came into effect for Oklahoma in the negative way there. But it was really interesting to watch. He's basically the cornerbacks tried to pull him down with his face mask. Williams has stayed almost upright and like yanked his head back, and the helmet's come off, and he's scored, but it's obviously not counted. So that was a particularly fun bit to watch on the game.
How interesting. You mentioned Caleb Williams looking good in the pocket. That
Yeah,
has been my only concern for him this season is when he's given too much time in the pocket, he tends to hold on to the ball for too long. So
yeah,
whilst he is good in the pocket, they almost need to have plays where there is a designated time where somebody will be open on a shorter route, maybe a comeback or a quick in or something to give him that option of being open. Because if you hold it for too long, obviously you get hit, you get smacked. It's even more prevalent in the NFL. But if they can get that out of him, I think he could be legitimately special.
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, definitely. For a freshman quarterback that's come in partway through a season and become the starter, he's looking great. And I think Venables coming in as the Oklahoma head coach has got a decent quarterback. If he stays though, that you mentioned Williams there, it's still up in the air whether he's going to stay at Oklahoma as well. Obviously, we know that Rattler's gone, but he hasn't sort of been concrete about whether he is planning on staying there. Um, Even after the game, he said the last few weeks have been a bit of a roller coaster with everything that's happened. But he then did mention about Venables coming in, and he's the right man to take the job. So I think the quarterback job is his for next year. So I would be surprised if he does go, but obviously he's not doing anyone any favors without he hasn't announced that he will be staying or not yet. So that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on over the next few weeks.
Yeah, see, if it was me, I wouldn't say that I was staying. I'd just I'd play the presumptuous card of I'm only leaving if I'm staying. So this is my job, and I'm here to stay. Actually, are you about to change something about the Duke's Mayo Bowl?
It's just
Is that
finished. Yeah, it's just finished.
okay? Marvelous. We've got one game left from the 29th, the Pinstripe Bowl from Yankees Stadium. We'll gloss over it very, very quickly. Maryland beat Virginia Tech 54-10. Not a great day for the Hokies.
No, I would hope. Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that you'd seen this one because I haven't been able to see anything of it, barring the score line, and it was a bit of a dismantlement. And Tagovailoa, the younger brother of the Tua variety,
Talia. Talia.
Talia Tagovailoa had a pretty decent game, didn't he? So
He did, yeah. He's one of these quarterbacks where he's got the ability to be good, but he's also
yeah,
got the ability to dismantle himself on the
I
football
would
pitch. So
wholeheartedly agree. That is exactly the type of year he had last year for Maryland, and
yeah,
similarly this year. I think he's been better this year than he
he
was in
has.
his first year, but he's still, very up and down. It has to be said. And there's another one coming into college in the next. I think it's either 2022 or 2023 class. There's another Tagovailoa brother coming in. Don't know if he's a quarterback though. Actually, on thinking about it, I've seen him earlier when I was looking at the recruitment classes. So we're
That's
gonna
it.
we're gonna
Punt them
continue to
out
have.
down there, didn't they? Yeah,
Yeah,
total
definitely.
liars.
Yeah,
We Yeah, Virginia Tech. Obviously, Braxton Burmeister entered the portal. I think the day or two before the game, and then the third string quarterback, who was basically played no football whatsoever, was tasked with coming in and playing Maryland. And I don't. It was not a good day for Virginia Tech. So,
no.
well, we move on to next season. New coach, new stuff. Let's see how we go. Obviously, there was supposed to be another game at a baseball field with the Fenway Bowl in Boston. Bronco Mendenhall did not get to have his fairway game at Virginia as the game was cancelled because of awaiting results of COVID-19. So a bit of a shame there for Bronco Mendenhall in Virginia.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, as you say, they didn't get to finish the game, and SMU not being able to finish with a bowl game after the year they had was a bit of a shame as well. And then a game has literally just finished on December 30th, as you said,
Wait.
the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
I think South Carolina beat UNC 27-21.
No.
Damn it.
South Carolina beat UNC 38-21.
Oh, I got
You got
75% of that right.
You did indeed, yes. I think I was watching a bit of this game before we started recording, and South Carolina tight end Jaheim Bell had 2 touchdowns off of 2 passes. He ended the game with 5 receptions for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. So yeah,
Wow.
he had a good game. Kevin Harris, the running back for South Carolina, 182 yards and a touchdown. Sam Howell, to be fair, didn't throw an interception, but he only had 200 yards and 1 touchdown. So you'll be definitely watching that once we finish this. I'll watch the highlights.
I didn't think Sam Howell was going to play in that, so fair play.
I'm surprised he played. Yeah, Sam Howell played. Josh Downs played. Ty Chandler. Most of the lads, most of the guys at UNC have stuck it out for the bowl game, which is good to see.
Shame Spencer Rattler couldn't suit up. That would have been good.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, wouldn't
it? Okay, Ash, before we get out of here, tomorrow is playoffs day. 2 games. Have your thoughts on the winners of each game changed?
It's not tomorrow, it's New Year's Day, isn't it? Oh, when people are listening to this, it'll be tomorrow.
Well, unless you are a really early bird, yeah.
All that, yes. No. I don't know. What did I don't even remember what I said last time. Cincinnati are still going to win. I'm sticking with Cincinnati over Bama. And I think I'm going to stick with Georgia over Michigan. I think now more so than before, because Michigan will be missing what's his name? The defensive, the safety, Dax Hill. Their safety for Michigan is questionable to be playing in the game. It's looking unlikely that he's not even in Miami at the moment. Obviously, he's potentially going to be in the NFL. He's going to be in the draft this year anyway, but he's hurt at the moment. So he's been one of their key pieces on the defensive side of things. So that's going to really hurt Michigan against Georgia. So I'm going to stick with Georgia in that one, and I'm going to go and stick with Cincinnati in the Bama Cincinnati game.
Okay, interesting.
If I went with Georgia in the first game, I can't remember. I know I definitely went with Cincinnati, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I went with Georgia.
I think you did. I think you did. I also want to go Cincinnati, but man, I just backing against Bama in a bowl game is frighteningly.
It is dangerous, isn't it?
To do. And then I'm going to back Wolverines. I'm going to back the Wolverines. I just think the Michigan defensive ends are going to cause Georgia and Stetson Bennett, because obviously JT Daniels' health is well up in the air now. They're not even sure he's going to suit up. So I just think they're going to cause Stetson Bennett all sorts of trouble. And will Stetson Bennett be able to cope with those 2 guys coming at him? So I really like the Michigan 6.5 at the moment. If it goes to 7, then you're smashing that all day long, because it's going to be a close one. These 2 teams, we've seen it. And I really want it to be a Cincinnati-Michigan final, just because that would be unbelievable for college football.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Although, no, I don't want to see Michigan in a natty, even if it is against Cincinnati. I'd rather Georgia get that.
Come on. No. Leave your prejudice at the door.
Never.
Buckeyes for life. Ash, have we missed anything? Have we got anything left that I've not covered?
No, we have gone through everything this week. I think we get to the exciting games next week. With obviously the with the playoffs and the remainder of the bowl games, with the big times. Obviously, we've got the New Year's 6 that will be in there as well. Yeah, it's going to be a good week of football. That's for sure.
And then the final is on the 10th of
10th.
January.
Correct. Yes.
Is that early 10th or late 10th? So are we talking Monday night or Tuesday night?
We said when we reviewed the bowl games, didn't we? And
We did.
I want to say it's. I don't know.
I think it's late
hang on.
Tuesday night.
It's 1 a.m. Tuesday for us, but it's
So late Monday night.
No, 1 a.m. Tuesday, the 11th.
Yeah.
Sorry, Monday night. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. So early Tuesday, really early Tuesday morning for us.
But if you were still sleeping, that is categorized as Monday evening.
Yeah.
Or night time.
What's that? 8. I think that's 8 Eastern for them. Must be for them.
Where is it?
Indianapolis.
I don't know what the time.
I'm pretty sure they're Eastern time.
Is it? This is showing my naivety here. Is it always played in Indy?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure if it is.
Is it like the Super Bowl where it moves around and every year is in a different venue?
Yeah.
Talking of Super Bowl venues, my sister's in Utah at the moment, so shout out to my sister. But she flew into Vegas and drove past the Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, and that thing looks unbelievable from the road.
It is the same as the Super Bowl. So
they're in
Indy. They're in Indy this year. Then they're in whose stadium is that? SoFi in California.
That's the Rams and
is that the Rams and
Stadium.
Chargers new stadium? Yeah. Oh, okay. And then they're in Texas in 2024.
Whereabouts?
So, and it's NRG Stadium, Houston Stadium.
Oh, I wondered that they're all inside stadiums. Interesting.
Yeah.
Although SoFi technically isn't inside, but it's California, so
no, they were in Miami last year.
But again,
I knew they were in Miami last year as well, so I should have just said no. But when you came at me like that so quickly, you made me panic.
And that is what Aiden Hutchinson is going to do to Stetson Bennett. Therefore, my theory is correct. Michigan are going to make the final. Ash, I apologise. And we've done it. We've got all the way up to the New Year games now. This is very exciting for next week's pod, Ash.
Yeah, definitely.
And it will be, so we'll have New Year's games for next week. And then Tuesday morning, so the following Wednesday-ish, for a review of the Natty.
Yeah, we get to focus just on the national final game, and maybe, if we're lucky, or if you guys are lucky, the first top 100 from us, depending on how excited we get about the national championship game. If Cincinnati are in it, then we'll be talking about it for an hour.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Cincinnati are in it, we may have to get some form of Cincinnati merchandise or something, because help out the smaller schools and all that business. Listen, Ash, it's almost New Year, mate. Have you got any plans for New Year's Eve?
No, not really. No.
What? Really?
Yeah, just going over a mate's, few drinks, few bits of food. It's about 5 or 6 of us going over, so it's a bit of a chill one this year. Getting old, ain't I? What about you?
I'm getting older than you are, so we'll leave that conversation at the door. I'm not sure whether we talked about this on last week's pod or not, about Christmas and you were playing board games. We're going off on a tangent, Rush Nation. Yeah. So if you want to leave the podcast right now, happy days. Ash, I'm going to ask you about your board game. Did you play board games Christmas evening?
No, we played card games on Boxing Day.
Well, I mean, I either completely didn't listen to you or you changed your plans significantly.
I might have done. I may well have changed my plans. I'm very fast and loose with what I do. So no, we ended up playing drinking card games on Boxing Day, which was fun until 11 o'clock, and then it wasn't fun, and then I came home.
Because Ash got fast and loose. Yeah, okay. I was excited to hear about your Christmas Day Boxing board games, but that never happened. So, well,
my bad.
I'm going to my mother's for a takeaway for New Year's Eve, because when you've got a 3-year-old, New Year's Eve doesn't really happen anymore. And the worst bit about it is they're not doing the fireworks in London this year, so you can't even stay up to see that.
Yeah, that's rubbish.
I'll be celebrating midnight by sleeping, I would imagine. But hey, it's one of those things, right? Although there might be college football on, so maybe I won't be.
There will be college football on New Year's Day.
But I'm talking about midnight New Year's Eve.
The Cincinnati Bama game is 8:30, starts at 8:30 tomorrow. So
So
No, we
earlier
just
when I said there's football tomorrow, you said no, there isn't.
well,
It's on New
yeah,
Year's Day.
I lied.
You did. You
I don't
killed
know
me
if
on.
that's 8:30 our time or their time though. Bear in mind, so it could be 1, 2 a.m. our time. I'm off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Just I've got it in front of me. It's 8:30.
Okay.
So we'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, we are doing our utmost to drag this podcast to an hour, Rush Nation. That is
Oh,
going to
yeah,
do
we
it
are.
for today's episode. Ash, it's been a pleasure once again, my friend. I will see you on the flip side in 2022. Rush Nation, the same with you. And for the last time in 2021, Saturdays are for rushing too.